I'm Ash Faulkner. I wanted to talk with you one more time. Hopefully you've come and seen us in the Writing Center about paragraphs. We've been talking about sentences, how to start them, how to navigate your way through them, how to end them. But I want to also suggest that the paragraph, too, has a kind of logical structure that's either right or misleading, and you can make yours clearer. A successful paragraph, a paragraph that rhetorically does what you want it to do, that reaches people and leads them not astray, introduces a clear topic issue to move readers towards specific questions, and then it answers the questions. Writing that succeeds in this way is called cohesive. It hangs together nicely. For instance, here's from business as it happens, but this is true in whatever discipline. During the first decade of Just Do It, Nike increased its market share of the domestic sports shoe business from 18%, $877 million, to 43%, $9.2 billion. Just Do It expanded Nike's target audience from hardcore competitive athletes to the general public by appealing to the inner athlete. The new appeal was that anyone and everyone could wear the merchandise and feel included. Everyone, from your average teenager making a fashion statement to professional athletes putting in hours of work, could wear a pair of Nike athletic shoes and experience the associated benefits of doing so. The values of that inner athlete, determination, dedication, and mental toughness added up to a Nike brand that finally forced Reebok out of a dominant market position. Period. Paragraph. You could set it to music. Why is this a cohesive paragraph that hangs together nicely? Well, there are a couple reasons. The main thing is, throughout this paragraph, the writer's thinking of what will people want to know next. So there's an inner kind of dialogue that happens. You write the sentence and you're thinking, okay, now, what do I want people to be asking? What will people be asking? What do I need to talk about next? Then you cover it. During the first decade of Just Do It, Nike increased its market share of the domestic sports shoe business from 18% to 43%, putting them into the billions of dollars. What's the reader thinking? The reader's thinking, wow, I want $9.2 billion. Well, Just Do It did that by expanding Nike's target audience from hardcore competitive athletes to the general public by appealing to the inner athlete. So this is the famous advertising campaign by Wieden and Kennedy. It started in the 80s and is really still going. But what's an inner athlete? Can an inner athlete score runs? Can an inner athlete make baskets? Can an inner athlete score touchdowns? Well, the new appeal was, here's what we mean by that. The new appeal was that anyone and everyone could wear the merchandise and feel included. Everyone, from your average teenager making a fashion statement to professional athletes putting in hours of work, could wear a pair of Nike athletic shoes and experience the associated benefits of doing so. Why do I care? So what? That's always a good question to be asking, because your reader will be asking it. We've all asked it to ourselves while trying to get through a document. So what? Why is this important? Studying for that test? Why are you telling me all this? Well, in this case, it's because the values of that inner athlete, determination, dedication, mental toughness, at any rate, added up to a Nike brand in hearts and minds that finally forced Reebok from a dominant market position. That was the game changer. That was the difference. And you can feel the back and forth going on through that paragraph. When your paragraphs do this, when we get it right, it makes the whole thing feel inevitable, like falling off a log. As soon as somebody reads the sentence, they have that thought, and then lo and behold, your next sentence is answering that thought. Sometimes, I'll go back to an example that you may have seen before, the topic or the issue isn't obviously interesting, most people, I think, do kind of care how Nike got their money. Here, in the 1990s, slimming products containing Chinese herbs, it's a narrower audience. So from the start, people are already thinking, so what? In that case, be very attentive to the so what question, and swiftly, over the course of that paragraph, move us to something consequential. This goes for the highest levels of scientific articles to the most common first paper in college. The first paragraph must tell us why this matters. Not just your idea, not just what you will argue, not your thesis only, but why this is important. Why should anybody care? In this case, what starts out seemingly as a story about herbs in Belgium turns out to be a story about cancer and death, and it's super important and you need to know. It's about unregulated supplements and acids that attack your kidneys. They get there pretty fast. If you can do it in a paragraph, you're golden. Think carefully about the way you end that paragraph. It's the big takeaway, it's the payoff, it's the bottom line. So I'd like us to look at one example before we go and think about the best way to end this particular trajectory. Clark's practice of carefully mapping every fossil made it possible to follow the evolutionary development of various types through time. Beautiful sequences of antelopes, giraffes, and elephants were obtained, new species evolving out of old ones and appearing in younger strata, then dying out as they were replaced by still others in still younger strata. In short, evolution was taking place before the eyes of the Homo surveyors, and it could be timed. The finest examples of this process were in several lines of pigs, which had been extremely common at Homo and had evolved rapidly. Unsnarling, the pig story was turned over to paleontologist Basil Cook. He produced family trees for pigs, whose various types were so accurately dated that pigs themselves became measuring sticks that could be applied to finds of questionable age in other places that had similar pigs. My question is there a sentence in there that you'd move? If you had to perform some minor surgery on this particular paragraph about paleontological dig, what sentence would you move? What sentence should it end with? That's my answer, if I had to say. Not just because it says in short, but because it tells us what we need to know at the end of the day. What's the ultimate conclusion? So it would read like this. You can do this with your own paragraphs. Look through it and focus on that last line. Is that last line doing the heavy lifting that you need it to do? If it's not, maybe that paragraph needs a sentence moved, or, as often, it might need a sentence added. A lot of times it's clear in my head what I mean, but I haven't necessarily spelled it out as much as I needed to for everybody else. So again, it's this process of getting out of our own heads and thinking, okay, where do I need to make that extra connection for somebody who's not as expert on this thing as I am, right? If you're doing a research project, you've by definition been reading all about it. Now communicate that to somebody who hasn't been reading all about it. That's the task, not to show how clever you are, but to be able to reach out effectively and get the point across to the next person. Right through life, you'll be tasked with this assignment, not by me, long after graduation. How do you convey something that other people need to know, that you know all about, but that they don't know all about? There's a teaching process there. And there are different techniques that we've talked about in these videos. This is another one. Let them see what it all adds up to in the bottom line, because you've saved that bottom line for something really important. It's a kind of thoughtfulness. It's not just about artistry and literary gifts. It's about being considerate. Are people going to understand what I just said Okay, if not, I'd better explain it a little farther. If you're thinking wisely about your readers' concerns and questions and responding to them, your paragraphs will hang together nicely. Concision, what we talk about when we say be concise, is the art of wasting nothing. If every sentence in your paragraph leads up to that main point, readers will see why your document matters, and the sentences will feel natural. Not because you were trying to sound cool, but because you were trying to give people what they needed to know. Thanks.